Good morning. You're watching Business World Live. I'm Danie Laurel. It's the start of a new trading day, but first let's kick off with our top story. Bangko Sentral Governor Ben Diokno says it is too early to raise interest rates, noting that the BSP is keen on keeping an accommodative policy to help the economy recover. Diokno told Bloomberg TV there's no need to raise rates at this point, saying the focus now is to assess developments abroad and at home. Diokno said the BSP is looking at 2021 as the Philippines' recovery year and 2022 as the year when pre-pandemic levels should be restored. The Monetary Board decided to keep rates at record lows last week. The overnight repurchase rate remains at 2%, while lending is retained at 2.5%. Deposit was unchanged at 1.5%. The decision to pause comes after inflation hit a two-year high of 4.2% in January. The Bangko Sentral has raised its inflation forecast to 4% from 3.2%, citing continued upside pressures from rising food and oil prices. Diokno expects inflation to taper off in the second half of the year and sees it slowing down by next year as things normalize. Okay, guys, checking in on global equities. It's after a mixed session on Wall Street overnight. This amid U.S. retail sales actually rising in the month of January by the most in 7 months. So that increased by 5.3% after we had seen a disappointing December in the U.S. And this had actually beat all forecasts. Another thing very positive when it comes to U.S. and how that economy is recovering is the fact that factory output also rose more than expected. You can see on my terminal here a bit of a mixed picture here with the NASDAQ down by 0.6%. I'm going to pull out the Asia chart for you guys so you can see how we're seeing quite a muted start in Asia. Now we finally have the China markets back in the trading game. You can see that opening right now in the green, but you can see that not yet moving. We'll be waiting for those markets to percolate a little bit, but you can see a bit of a mixed picture. Topix down by 0.5%, but the Nikkei 225 up by 0.3%. Recall that China's markets are going to be reopening after 1 week, and the stocks there are nearing record highs. So another thing that is also nearing highs here is oil that extended a rise above $61 a barrel. Now, of course, this has to do with the power outages across central United States. There's a crude output plunge of 1/3 over in the United States. Another one jumping is Bitcoin that went past $52,000 for the first time ever. Now, let's take a quick peek at our own local boards. Now, recall that we had seen this falling in midweek trade, even as the value turnovers were rising above 19 billion pesos worth yesterday. And we see that pullback continuing this Thursday morning, down 0.3%, still shy of those 7,000 levels. Now, what China Bank Securities said, threatened the recovery of the bourse is the impending or possibly an eruption of Taal. And they said that this poses uncertainty whether this could again affect our economy once more. Now, one thing to be watching out for is the financial space. Now, recall that yesterday we had reported that the FIS bill was finally signed into law by President Duterte, and yet that counter did not necessarily perform as good as expected. It does seem to be that they're going the other way this morning, with financials jumping a hefty 1.4%. Now, this is led by Metrobank. Take a look at that, 6.64% of an upside, but not just them, you've got BDO as well. Now, speaking of Metrobank, I'm going to be sharing that the net income results. Of course, this came at around 4 p.m. yesterday, so markets are digesting that this morning. Their net income at 13.8 billion pesos. So I'll just pull out the chart for you guys so you can see the earnings of Metrobank here and how that actually compares to the analyst expectations. This comes on the back of their non-performing loans coverage ratio now at 163%, so quite high compared to what they saw in 2019. And this, of course, comes at 2020 provisions at around 41 billion pesos. They did mention some trading gains and forex gains at 19.2 billion pesos, and that despite the fact that the gross loans contracted by 13% because of the, of course, affected businesses and consumer confidence of the pandemic, the net interest margins actually improved by 14 basis points to close to 4%. Another thing that went up, net interest income rising close to 12%. So again, lower loan growth, but still higher net interest margins. And, people actually saying that they have beaten their forecast. So again, this comes amid the fifth bill now being enacted. Now, this according to Union Bank's chief economist, Carlo Asuncion. He says that this fifth bill is a repeat of the 2002 Special Purpose Vehicle Act. He said that when that was enacted, it was very helpful and achieved what it was meant for. So he says that if that follows the same trend, this should also be useful this time around. Fintech Alliance.ph chair Lito Villanueva says that the law will also have a ripple effect which will benefit small businesses. So again, Metrobank are rising and bringing, totally bucking the rest of the uncertainty in the local bourse. Okay, guys, supply side issues are threatening to rock an already fragile recovery. How do we make sure that we have food security when we need it? Here to share with us their plan, we have with us Assistant Noel Reyes of the Department of Agriculture. Good morning, Assistant, and welcome back to the broadcast.
Good morning, too. And thank you for this opportunity again.
Asik, let's kick off with the issue that, we had higher than expected inflation in the month of January, and a lot of this has been the blame has been on the supply side issues, particularly on the prices of pork and other food products. Your solution here is a cap on the prices and even increasing the minimum asset volume when it comes to imports. Is that enough to arrest these issues?
Yes, we believe so. No? In addition to bringing down the prices of pork from a high of 400 to 300 level, we're bringing in additional supply from a surplus hogs from Visayas and Mindanao. So we're bringing in an average of 4,500. That's 500 more than the usual average meat slaughtered volume for Metro Manila. And also we're recommending to increase the volume to be imported from 54,000 metric tons to about 400,000 metric tons. That will cover the requirements for the rest of the year. And also on the medium term, we'll be implementing a stricter bantay sa ASF sa barangay. So in partnership with the local government units. And also alongside that program, twin program is that repopulation program, wherein we will encourage backyard, semi-commercial, and commercial raisers to engage again in the business, expand their operations, particularly in ASF-free areas or green zones.
Okay, sir, would this not hurt the local hog industry if we have more imports coming in, and if you're capping the prices? How far are these cap prices from the farm gate?
It's just a few percentage of the total demand, and then we're just filling in the huge gap left by the ASF menace. So it's still ongoing. So we're looking at 400,000 metric tons, and in fact, the industry has placed the deficit at 500,000 metric tons. So we're just recommending 400,000 metric tons. So it won't hurt the local industry that much.
Okay, sir, where are we exactly when it comes to the fight against ASF? Why has this not been completely arrested yet? Is it even possible to expect that? How can we ensure that this does not have another big outbreak?
We're making breakthroughs in the fight against the ASF. In fact, incidence has gone down to about 200, and in isolated places in Luzon and Bulacan, Pampanga, in Leyte and Davao de Oro. So again, we're gaining ground in partnership with the local government units, and we have developed our local team from the Central Luzon State University has developed a rapid test kit to determine the incidence of ASF. And also we're looking at a light at the end of the tunnel. The U.S. Department of Agriculture has developed a vaccine, and it's now being tested in partnership with Vietnam Ministry of Agriculture, and we're coordinating with USDA so we can get samples too for clinical and field testing here in the Philippines.
Okay, so hopefully another vaccine as well for the hogs might be arresting this issue. Now, sir, let's move on to the rice issue. Rice typhoons
Okay.
brought down the rice inventory by 13%. Was this already expected, or is this actually worse than expected? Are the typhoons getting worse or more unpredictable, or is our agriculture sector actually becoming more resilient to them?
We're saying that there are vulnerabilities in the sector, of course, the typhoons and man-made also. And we're getting there. We're solving it. In fact, this downtrend in inventory was caused by the typhoons during the last quarter of 2020, and we expect to perform better this year with in the dry season with the rice RCEP, the rice tarification law. We've been providing seeds, farm machineries, and credit, and all, including training. So we're looking at producing 1 million tons more palay this season, higher than last year's 19 million.
Sir, was the Taal eruption of last year a big impact to the prices, or was that just a temporary surge in prices? And are you worried that this might happen again?
Yeah, particularly in fish supply, aquaculture, tilapia, and bangus were most of the supply for Metro Manila expected. So again, it has affected much in Metro Manila, of course. So again, we believe production is picking up in Taal for tilapia and bangus. Again, supplying the needs of Metro Manila.
Okay, and hoping that that eruption does not actually push through yet. Again, it's not something that we definitely don't need.
Hopefully,
Right.
it won't be as destructive.
Yes, indeed. And sir, finally, before we let you go, sir, inflation seen to taper off by the second half of the year, and you mentioned already this will be arrested. Can you just clarify how much percentage points this will be arrested by the programs that the DA now has?
Oh, we're not putting numbers, but we're expecting that due to the reduction in prices of pork, then it will again influence the downtrend of the inflation in this February and March. So we're looking a lower number.
Okay, so hopefully definitely within the target range and no more surprises there with the developments that you're putting in place. Thank you so much for those insights. That was ASEC Noel Reyes of the Department of Agriculture.
Thank you. On behalf of Secretary William Darren, Department of Agriculture. Good morning to all.
Good morning, sir. Checking in on the other headlines, we're keeping our eyes on. The DPWH expects dredging works in 3 parts of the Marikina River to be completed by the end of April. 3 parts of the river were identified as priority areas for dredging, which is seen to improve the flow of the river and minimize the flood risk. Recall that the water level in Marikina River breached critical levels several times when succeeding typhoons barreled through Luzon late last year. Now, the DPWH wants dredging works done before typhoons start entering the country again this year, which typically happens in May or June. As we speak, the first tropical cyclone of the year has entered PAR. TD Auring is currently inching its way slowly towards the eastern part of the Caraga region. Now, the government is asking for a 2-year extension on the validity of its $7 million rural development grant from the World Bank. Now, the global lender said the Philippine government requested the extension of the Global Environment Facility grant until May 31st, 2023. The GEF grant targets projects in 6 regions supporting livelihood programs and capacity building at coastal LGUs. The initial delays on implementation was further derailed by the pandemic and the series of typhoons that hit the country last year. As of now, the World Bank has released about 82% from the GEF, leaving a balance of about $1 million. The grant is linked to the broader Philippine Rural Development Project, which was approved in 2014 with a loan worth over $410 million in total. And that's a first look into the business day. Today is Thursday, February 18, 2021. Catch Business World Live for the market close. It's at 3:15 p.m. today. I'm Danie Laurel, and we are One News.